This is William K. Murtaugh, Witness 1. And my, are we starting off on an interesting foot in this new year. Now, the title of today's episode is Running Scared, which is exactly what the field report seems to be doing. Now, there are a couple of individuals who go in and extract the field report's material almost in its entirety in a segment. And while this might have been the justification for the field report to file copyright strikes against Glow-Free, for instance, it may not have been the smart thing to do for a couple reasons. Now, what exactly is it that got struck in this move by the field report? And it was the recordings of the two telephone calls that were made, one in September and one in October, that had to do with Miss Akbud, or however you pronounce the name, who got herself arrested in Colorado because she was accused of attempting to kidnap her child. Now, everybody knows the story by now of what happened. CPS grew concerned about the claims that the mother was making in regards to the child and removed him from her custody. It is rumored and suspected, it is rumored and suspected that she may have Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And if this is the case, they were thinking only of the welfare of the child. And if it were proven that they were wrong, the child would have been returned to the mother. The mother could have fought this through normal channels, done what was necessary to appease CPS, and more than likely get her child back. But instead, she decided to go outside the normal path, seek the advice of people like Phil McConnell and Kirk Pendergrass and Chris Elliott, and somehow got it in her head that kidnapping her son was the best solution to the problem. And she found out, to her dismay, that she may have made things a hell of a lot worse. Now, this woman is extremely lucky. She got out on bail. It's not the end of her problems, but she may be on the road to mitigate her problems. And this also is going to prove a point that I made countless times before, but we'll get into that in a minute. So we go back to these two phone calls. Now, it is said, and it is believed by a lot of people, that Phil McConnell and other people associated with Phil McConnell may have contributed to the plot to kidnap that child. It either may have been suggested or encouraged. And the companion may have been supplied an automobile and weapons in which to facilitate this action. It is also rumored that while the woman was remaining a fugitive because they needed to talk to her, that she may have spent some time at the McConnell mansion. Now, these are accusations, of course. There's no absolute proof at the moment that these accusations are true. But there is this. One of the conditions of her release is that she has to cooperate with authorities. And that may mean naming people that may have assisted her while she was a fugitive. It's against the law to do that, you know. If you harbor someone, even for a brief period of time, who is a fugitive from justice, you're committing a crime. Because it's in the statutes that harboring or assisting a fugitive from justice is a federal offense. You can go to jail for it. This isn't a misdemeanor warrant we're looking at here. This is a felony. This is someone who is alleged to have committed multiple felonies, who is wanted by federal authorities, and this is involving a child. You can get into a serious mess. So there may be additional problems with the McConnell camp. And these 2 phone calls may be the evidence. And so when these phone calls started to be made public, the field camp got nervous. They got scared. And they had to put a lid on it, and fast. And they chose copyright strikes as the way to do it. And they managed to get the entire channel taken down that was broadcasting these clips. But I didn't stop it, because we have all learned from Tim Holseth how to get around censorship. And the site's going to be back, and it's going to do just exactly what it was doing, probably a lot more, because it's going to be in a place that's extremely difficult to get content taken down. So in the end, the field report may have made things worse, where they've taken away the one mechanism of defense they had by striking these people, because they're just going to go and they're going to go somewhere else and they're going to do the same damn thing. And they're going to bring out the fact, as am I, that these 2 recordings got under the skin of the field report. As now people are going to pay attention to the actions of the field report, because this is an organization that cries freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of this, freedom of that. Here, you know, there's no... We got the First Amendment, we got the Constitution. Phil McConnell is in jail right now for what he claims is abridging his freedom of speech. That because he spoke out against someone, that he's being punished for it. He's wrong, of course, because freedom of speech has its limits. You don't go around threatening the safety and security of a woman and her family with the kind of threatening behavior that Phil McConnell was engaging in on his show. And the same kind of behavior that Timothy Charles Holseth engaged in, and others are engaging in. That kind of speech has consequences, and Phil McConnell is in jail right now because of it. And he's going to be in jail a whole hell of a lot longer. And this brings me up to a point that I made earlier to a certain extent. Now, Miss Akbud got out of prison by working within the system. She got legal representation. She went to the court, got her bail reduced to the point where she was able to get out. Now, I haven't gotten the paperwork yet to see what the conditions of her release is yet, but I understand that one of the conditions is that she is going to cooperate with authorities. And again, this may mean that she is going to start naming names and getting into just how she managed to stay on the lam for as long as she did. So if I were anyone that had anything to do with this situation, I would be nervous right about now. And this also brings up another point. Field McConnell is sitting in jail a hell of a lot longer than Timothy Charles Holmseth did, or even basically anybody else involved in this enterprise. Field McConnell could be over in his little studio right now, earning his riches off his website, talking about various things that interest him, if he had simply cooperated. Said, all right, I messed up. I do a nolo contendere. I throw myself on the mercy of the court. Can I negotiate my way out of this? Can I issue a statement saying I was wrong, I apologize, something like that? If he had done that and basically caved in, he'd be fine. He might have gotten a short 30 days or something, or a letter of apology, a retraction. Might have gone a long way to mitigate his damages. Because that's all the lawyer wanted. The lawyer wanted to be left alone and for people to tell the truth. But Field McConnell was capable of neither, because he had people around him that gave him bad advice. And because of that, he now sits in a county jail preparing for his little trip to Florida, which is inevitable at this point. But we're now into the new year. Everybody's coming back from their little vacations, so I would suspect that either today or in the following days, the state of Florida is going to start shoving the paperwork up to Wisconsin to get Field McConnell the hell out of there. And by Valentine's Day, Field McConnell is likely going to be sitting in the Brevard County Jail in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Strangely enough, Field McConnell is going to be in the same county where this ACBUG mess started. Everybody thinks that this all started in Colorado, that it was Colorado CPS that got involved. And that's not exactly right. All this started in Florida, because she was complaining about the Florida heat having an effect on her son. And she went to the Miami hospital and went through tests and so forth to try and prove that there was something wrong here. And then she petitioned the court to relocate to Colorado because she felt she could get better treatment up there. And so that's how she wound up in Colorado. Now, once she got in Colorado, medical authorities grew concerned about certain things and reported her to CPS. CPS got involved. CPS took temporary custody of the child until they could determine just what the hell was going on. And this is what got everybody involved. Now, this has only been going on a short period of time, less than a year. So, it's hard to determine until more research is done just exactly what went down. But there's a distinct possibility and a likelihood that CPS got a bad rap on this one, that they may have been trying to save the life of the child. Because if the mother had any form of Munchausen by proxy, her child's life was in danger. And so it was the duty of the CPS to step in and make sure that the child was not in danger. This is the purpose of CPS in the first place. That's what the initials stand for, Child Protective Services. They are there to protect the child. Now just imagine for a moment if CPS had gotten involved with Casey Anthony. If somebody had had the brains to go to CPS and say, we're worried about the way Casey Anthony is behaving toward her child. If the Florida CPS had gotten involved with Casey Anthony, Caylee Anthony might be alive today. Same is true of Haley Cummings. From all indications of the dynamics of that family, CPS should have been involved with that family. CPS should have been in there trying to determine if Haley Cummings was in danger. And if it had found that Haley Cummings was in danger, they could have taken Haley Cummings out of that home, possibly reunited her with her biological mother, which is how Kim Picasio got involved. Or at the very least, Haley Cummings might be alive today. Same is true of Trenton Duckett. Trenton Duckett disappeared under mysterious circumstances and is presumed to be dead. The exact same scenario exists with the mother of that child as with Casey Anthony. She was a single parent raising a child. She was young and she partied a lot. And so Trenton Duckett was crimping on her lifestyle. She complained about it. And Trenton Duckett conveniently disappeared. Now, if CPS had intervened in that case, then Trenton Duckett might be alive. All these children would not be deceased and grist for the Timmy Holmes-Sess conspiracy mill. These children may have been in foster care, they may have been readopted into a caring family, but they would be alive. This is what people seem to not understand about CPS. Now again, if CPS in some cases are being abusive, then yes, there needs to be reform. They need to clean up their act. They need to do things differently, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. CPS was created for a reason. Somebody just didn't dream this thing up. And if you get rid of CPS, you get rid of any protection that a child has, because who's going to protect the children? Some guy singing in a basement doing blogs? Not going to work. You know, talk shows on blogs are not going to protect children. They may address problems. They may work to form groups to influence change, but they're not going to protect anything. They have to delegate that authority to others that have the power to do it. And that means pressuring politicians and authorities to crack down on any abuses that may exist in the various CPS locations throughout the country. And so that's why, you know, you need to question. Anytime a woman makes a claim, or a man makes a claim about abuses by CPS, you have to ask yourselves why. What is it that is causing all this? Because in the end, you're talking about a custody fight. That custody fight is either between anyone that has to do with the care of the child or children in question, or the agency that is attempting to intervene and in most cases either temporarily or permanently remove custody of the child from the parent or the guardian, which is what's happening here. Now, I don't think that there are people working for CPS that want to take as many children as possible away from their parents. CPS more than likely has good intentions. They're looking out for the welfare of the child. That's their mission. Now, they may go overboard sometimes, and this is what needs to be addressed. And as I also stated, there's mechanisms the mother could have used to state her case and possibly get the custody of her child back, or at a minimum, visitation rights. But you have to work within the system. You don't go off half-cocked, get on some wacko talk show, plot a kidnapping, have weapons in the car, go to shooting ranges and practice your shooting techniques so you can get into a confrontation, if necessary, to get that child. Because this is the end result. Now, that's another thing people should be thinking about. This woman actually went to a shooting range to sharpen her skills with a firearm, which means she was willing to use deadly force to extract her child from whatever situation was in. And this is a woman that you want to call a hero. Okay, you start getting firearms involved. This is a civilian. This woman's not former law enforcement. She's not military. She has no training in hostage extraction or anything close to that. No combat training. All she's going to have is a few hours at a private shooting range. She's not going to have situational training. She's not going to know the proper time to shoot or not shoot. She might accidentally shoot the child or somebody else. And this is who people are supporting. Doesn't matter if she's right or wrong. The fact that she's willing to take this kind of extreme action should make people think twice about going to her side in all this. But people in these extreme political realms don't use common sense. They just think deep state taking the child for use in these slave camps, or they're going to sacrifice them or eat them or whatever it is that people like Tim Holseth claim. And the common sense judgment goes straight out the window. So I rather doubt that this woman's troubles are over. She's got herself in a pretty bad situation. It's going to take a little while to see how this is going to turn out. This can go in any number of directions. But now there's evidence against her in her folder, in her docket. The fact that she was willing to use deadly force to resolve this issue. That does not look good. It may make her a hero among the extremists, but in the eyes of the federal government and the state government, it does not. It proves that this woman may be a danger to her child, and she may have just earned having custody of her child taken away from her permanently. She's really going to have to go on a limb and come up with something to save her ass. She's going to have to get down on her knees and pray and beg for mercy. She's going to have to throw herself on the mercy of authorities. She's going to really have to clamp down and behave herself, because they're going to have her under a microscope. She's caused a lot of people a lot of problems, and she's going to have to pay for it. And this brings in her helpers, her enablers, those people who somehow got her to consider this course of action in the first place. Now, if this woman had any brains, she would start naming names and giving complete and thorough information to the authorities as to how all this went down. Who was involved, why were they involved, how were they involved. And those additional participants may find themselves in court. And this is why the Eager Beaver wasn't so eager for those calls to be spread out to the general public. They wanted to confine the message to within their own group, which isn't going to work. They just made matters worse, because now people can argue that the guilty were hiding their crime by minimizing the exposure to these two conversations. But now all anybody has to do is link it. Say, see for yourself. Go to this site. Go to the field report in October, in September. Put the time stamp down for the link. Say at 0045 or whatever it was. This is when the conversation started, and this is what it said. And you can paraphrase it. You can say, this is what Field McConnell said to this woman, or what this woman said to Field McConnell. And the same goes for her companion, who called in as well. This is what the companion said. This is what Field McConnell said to the companion. And you avoid the copyright, because you're paraphrasing, you're not copying, but you're reporting on an actual event. So there's workarounds to all this stuff. It's done to me all the time. Tim Holseth is over there on his Facebook page linking to my presentations, which is stupid, because what he's doing is he's just spreading my information to a wider audience. People come in, they listen, they decide for themselves if I'm right or wrong. I'm not going to do a copyright strike on him, because I can't. He's not copying anything. All he's doing is spreading my link around. This is how you get around problems like that. You know, I don't care. People can spread the links to my videos all they want. I don't care who you are. If Field McConnell wants to have all my links of my videos on his channel, go for it. I have nothing to hide. And anybody that's seeking the truth should not have anything to hide. Copyright strikes show that you have something to hide. Field McConnell is supposed to be a news and information channel. He's supposed to be out there fighting for freedom of speech, freedom of this, freedom of that. He's in jail claiming to be fighting for freedom of speech with his daily reports and his Bible readings. And he was on there on that show, and the supposed premise was to show an example of oppression by CPS towards a woman and her child. And instead, by engaging in the actions, all the field report has done is to make people think that maybe they're guilty of a crime, that they may be doing something they should not have been, that all these rumors of aiding and abetting a kidnapping of a child may have been true. So the field report has just got themselves into a bit of a mess. And it's a mess that's going to last longer than it would have if they had simply left it alone. Because Abcad is out of jail. Her story is going to fade into a distant memory, because now she's free. There's not going to be much of an incentive to follow her story, to the extent that she was in jail calling out every day. They've lost that. They've lost a martyr. Because she's free. She can do what she wants within limitations. She probably got one of these don't leave town without letting us know where you're going warnings. She maybe have to wear an ankle bracelet. She may have to report to probation officers periodically. She may have to take a drug test or something, because she is going to have to go to court eventually and answer for what she did. And that's going to take time. These things usually, when they reach this stage, it takes a little bit of time. So we don't know what's going to happen with her. But we do know what's going to happen to Field McConnell. Field McConnell is going to continue to fight his extradition. He's going to continue to try and get out of jail. But he's also going to continue to do it the wrong way. By holding on to this belief that some guy who calls himself Postmaster General or whatever the hell it is he calls himself, I call him the Postmaster of the world, is going to march in and get him out of jail. Not going to happen. That guy's already left. He gave up. I haven't heard squat about that clown. And so there we have it. Another day in the wonderful, wild, and wacky world of Field McConnell and Timothy Charles Holmeseth. We watch, we wait, we listen, we read. Until then, this is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1. Have a good one.